My name is Megan Whitaker. I'm 33 years old, and my family sold my car while I was sitting in my daughter's elementary school auditorium watching her sing in a third-grade choir concert. I didn't know it was happening. I was in the second row, holding my phone up with both hands, trying not to cry, while Lily stood on the risers in her little blue dress, singing off-key with the biggest smile on her face. For 3 minutes, I forgot about bills, overtime, my brother's messes, my mother's guilt trips, and the way my family always made me feel like the responsible one simply because they needed someone to clean up after Darren. Then the concert ended. Lily ran into my arms with a paper flower she had made in art class. She said, "This is for being the best mom," and I almost broke right there in the hallway. We walked outside into the cold October night. I pressed the unlock button on my key fob. Nothing happened. No lights flashed. No horn chirped. No familiar blue Toyota Highlander waited under the parking lot lamp where I had left it less than an hour earlier. At first, I thought I had parked in another row. Then I thought maybe I was tired. Then I walked the entire lot twice with my daughter's small hand getting colder inside mine. "Mommy," Lily whispered, "did someone take our car?" I called the police with one hand and held my daughter with the other. The officer had just started asking for my license plate number when my phone rang. "Mom," I almost didn't answer. I wish I hadn't. "Megan," she said, calm as Sunday dinner, "before you embarrass this family, you need to listen." My stomach dropped. I said, "Mom, where is my car?" She sighed, like I was the one being difficult. "It is not stolen," she said. "We sold it." For a second, the whole parking lot went silent. I could still see parents loading kids into minivans. I could still hear a little boy laughing near the school doors. But inside my head, everything stopped. "You did what?" "Your brother needed help," she said. "Darren was going to lose everything." Then my father took the phone. "Don't you dare call the police on your own family," he said. And then Darren, my golden child brother, laughed in the background and said, "Report it if you want. By the time anyone cares, that car will be across state lines." I looked at my daughter, shivering in her concert dress. Then I looked at the officer standing in front of me, and I said, "I'd like to report my vehicle stolen." What my family didn't know was simple. I investigate insurance fraud for a living, and the car they sold had a dash cam that uploaded everything to the cloud, including Darren's voice saying, "Forge it, she'll never have the guts to report us." 3 days later, my brother was in handcuffs. But that still wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when the DMV called and asked why my father had used my social security number on the sale paperwork. I bought that car on a Tuesday afternoon in April, 2 years after my divorce became final, and 6 months after I stopped waking up every morning feeling like I had failed at everything. It was a 2021 Toyota Highlander, dark blue, used but clean, with one previous owner and a backseat Lily immediately claimed as her travel kingdom. She was 6 then, missing one front tooth, holding a granola bar in one hand and the salesman's free balloon in the other. When I signed the loan papers, my hands shook so badly the finance manager asked if I needed water. I didn't need water. I needed proof. Proof that I could rebuild a life from the ashes of a marriage that had left me with a rented apartment, half a savings account, and a daughter who still asked why Daddy didn't live with us anymore. Proof that I could buy something reliable without a man's name next to mine. Proof that when Lily climbed into the back seat, buckled herself in and said, "This feels safe, Mommy," I had finally given her something no one could take. That was the part I got wrong. The Highlander was never fancy to anyone else. To my family, it was just a car. My mother, Linda, called it too big for one woman. My father, Robert, said I probably should have bought something cheaper. And my brother, Darren, of course, slapped the hood the first time he saw it and said, "Must be nice, playing rich while the rest of us work for a living." Darren had always said things like that. In our family, he was the dreamer. That was the word my mother used when his roofing business failed, when his checks bounced, when he missed Christmas dinner because he was meeting investors at a sports bar. He wasn't irresponsible. He was under pressure. He wasn't reckless. He was ambitious. He wasn't broke. He was between opportunities. I was the opposite. I was the practical one, the cold one, the one with a desk job and a calendar and an emergency fund. I worked as an insurance claims investigator in Cincinnati, which meant I spent my days reading accident reports, reviewing dashcam footage, catching people who thought a fake neck injury or a staged collision would pay their bills. My family never understood what I did. They called it paperwork. But paperwork had bought my daughter groceries. Paperwork had paid rent. Paperwork had gotten me through court, through divorce, through nights when Lily had a fever and I sat beside her bed with my laptop open, finishing reports because sick days did not pay themselves. Darren hated that. Not openly, not all the time, but I saw it in the way his mouth tightened whenever Mom praised me for being stable. I heard it in the jokes about my little office job, and I felt it every time my parents expected me to cover what Darren broke because my father liked to say, family covers family. The Sunday before they sold my car, Mom called and asked me to come over for dinner. Her voice had that soft, careful tone that meant she was about to ask for something and pretend it was love. Lily and I arrived at 6. Darren was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with his head down, turning a beer bottle between both hands. Dad stood by the sink, arms crossed. Mom had made pot roast, but no one was eating. "What happened?" I asked. Mom's eyes filled instantly. "Your brother is in trouble," she said. I looked at Darren. "What kind of trouble?" He didn't answer. Dad did. "Financial." That word sat in the kitchen like smoke. "How much?" I asked. No one looked at me. Finally, Darren muttered, 27,000. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because the number landed exactly where I expected it to. Too big to be casual, too small for Darren to admit it had ruined him. "I'm sorry," I said carefully, "but I can't give you that." Mom's face changed first. Not anger, disappointment, the kind she used like a weapon. "You can't," she repeated, "or you won't. I have Lily. Rent, insurance, school costs. I'm not emptying my savings because Darren took out loans he couldn't pay." Darren's head snapped up. "There it is," he said. "The speech, St. Megan, Queen of Responsibility." Dad slammed his palm on the table. "Enough, your brother needs help." "And I need boundaries," I said. Mom looked past me through the kitchen window toward my Highlander parked in the driveway. Then she said quietly, "That car must be worth something." I should have heard the warning in her voice, but I didn't. I picked up Lily's coat, took my daughter home, and told myself my family was angry, not dangerous. 6 days later, I walked out of Lily's school concert and found an empty parking space where my life was supposed to be. The police officer's name was Dana Ruiz. I remember that because she said it twice, slowly, like she could tell my brain was trying to leave my body. "Ma'am, I'm Officer Dana Ruiz. I need you to take a breath and tell me what happened." We were standing under a parking lot light outside Maple Ridge Elementary. The concert had ended 15 minutes earlier. Parents were gone. The last teacher was locking the front doors. Lily stood beside me with her paper flower bent in one hand and my coat wrapped around her shoulders because her little blue dress was made for a warm auditorium, not an Ohio night in October. "My car was parked right here," I said. Officer Ruiz looked at the empty space. "Are you sure this is where you parked?" I almost laughed. People always ask that when a woman says something is missing. "Are you sure? Did you check? Maybe you forgot. Maybe you misunderstood your own life." "Yes," I said, "I'm sure." I gave her the make, model, plate number, and VIN from the insurance app on my phone. My hands were steady by then. That was the strange thing. Fear made me shake. Betrayal made me precise. Then my phone rang. Mom. Her picture appeared on the screen, smiling in my kitchen from 3 Christmases ago, back when I still believed distance could protect me from disappointment. I answered. "Megan," she said, "before you embarrass this family, you need to listen." Officer Ruiz looked up from her notepad. I put the call on speaker. "Where is my car?" I asked. Mom sighed, the way she always did when she wanted me to feel childish. "It isn't stolen." I stared at the empty parking space. "What do you mean it isn't stolen?" "We sold it." Lily looked up at me. I didn't move. I didn't blink. For a second, all I could hear was the buzz of the parking lot light above us. "You sold my car?" "Your brother needed help," Mom said. "Darren was going to lose everything. Your father handled the paperwork. It's already done." Officer Ruiz stopped writing. I said, "Whose name was on the title, Mom?" Silence. "Whose signature did they use?" Then Dad came on the phone. "Do not start with that legal nonsense," he said. His voice had the hard edge he used when he thought volume could turn wrong into right. You left the title at our house. You knew we had it. I left it there because my apartment flooded last year and you said your safe was secure. And it was secure, he snapped. Until we needed it. Until we needed it. That sentence went through me colder than the wind. Then Darren's voice came from somewhere in the background. Oh, come on, Meg, don't act poor. You've got insurance. File something. I closed my eyes. I had spent 8 years investigating people who said exactly that. File something. Say it was worse than it was. Move a date. Change a signature. Make the paperwork bend until money fell out. Ask, you want me to file a false insurance claim? I asked. Darren laughed. I want you to stop acting like a victim over a Toyota. Mom came back on the line, softer now. Sweetheart, a car can be replaced. A son can't. I looked down at Lily. Her lower lip was trembling, but she wasn't crying. That almost hurt worse. My daughter had already learned to hold things in when adults became unsafe. Officer Ruiz asked quietly, Ma'am, do you want to proceed with the stolen vehicle report? Dad heard her. You called the police? He said. No, I said. I was calling them when you called me. Megan, Mom whispered, suddenly frightened. Please don't do this. And there it was. Not regret, not apology, fear. They weren't sorry they had sold my car. They were sorry I had witnesses. Darren took the phone one last time. Report it if you want, he said. By the time anyone cares, that car will be across state lines. I looked at Officer Ruiz. Yes, I said. I want to proceed. Mom started crying. Dad started shouting. Darren started swearing. I ended the call. For a moment, no one spoke. The night felt too big around us. Then Lily slipped her hand into mine and asked, Mommy, are Grandma and Grandpa bad people now? I knelt in front of her, right there on the cold pavement. No, baby, I said, though the words tasted like glass. But they did a bad thing, and when someone takes what isn't theirs, we tell the truth. Officer Ruiz's expression changed when I said that. Not pity, respect. She handed me a form to sign. As I wrote my name, my phone buzzed again. A text from Darren. You'll regret this. I stared at the screen, then turned it toward Officer Ruiz. She took a picture of it. That was the first piece of evidence my brother gave me himself. It would not be the last. By the time Lily and I got home, my phone had become a weapon everyone in my family wanted to use against me. 14 missed calls from Mom, 9 from Dad, 6 from Darren, 3 from Aunt Paula, who only called when there was a funeral, a baby shower, or a family scandal she wanted to control before anyone else got the story. I didn't answer any of them. I made Lily hot chocolate, helped her out of her concert dress, and tucked her into bed with the stuffed fox she had slept with since she was 4. She looked smaller than usual under the blanket. Are we going to get the car back? She asked. I sat on the edge of her bed and brushed her hair away from her forehead. I'm going to do everything the right way, I said. That was not the answer she wanted, but it was the only promise I could make. After she fell asleep, I opened my laptop at the kitchen table. My apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional buzz of my phone lighting up beside me. Mom texted first. Please don't destroy your brother over a car. Then, Dad, you are making this bigger than it needs to be. Then Darren, you always wanted a reason to act better than us. I stared at that one longer than the others, because that was the family story, wasn't it? Megan didn't set boundaries. Megan acted better. Megan didn't refuse to be used. Megan was cold. Megan didn't protect herself. Megan turned her back on family. I opened my insurance app. The Highlander had a tracking device installed through my policy's safe driver program. Darren had laughed at it once and called it corporate babysitting. But that night, that little device was the first honest witness I had. The last recorded location was not a chop shop, not a highway, not another state. It was Darren's house. My chest tightened. I clicked the trip history. The car had left Maple Ridge Elementary at 7:42 p.m., 12 minutes before the concert ended. It had driven straight to Darren's subdivision, sat in his driveway for 21 minutes, then continued west toward a used car lot called Madsen Auto Exchange. I knew that name. Everyone in Cincinnati knew that name if they worked insurance claims long enough. Madsen Auto Exchange was the kind of place that bought cars fast, asked questions slowly, and advertised "Cash Today" in red letters on late-night television. Then I opened the dashcam portal. I had installed the dashcam after my divorce when my ex-husband started showing up places he claimed he just happened to be. It recorded when the car moved. It uploaded clips automatically when it detected impact, speed changes, or manual tampering. There were 4 new files. My hand hovered over the first one. I knew once I clicked it, I could never unknow whatever came next. I clicked. The screen filled with the school parking lot. My father's face appeared first, close to the windshield, squinting like he was trying to figure out which button started the car. Then the passenger door opened, and Darren slid in, wearing the gray hoodie Mom had bought him last Christmas. "Come on," Darren said. "She'll be out soon." Dad's hands shook on the steering wheel. "This feels wrong." Darren laughed. "It's Megan. She'll cry, Mom will cry, then she'll fold. She always folds." I stopped breathing. In the second clip, they were in Darren's driveway. Mom's voice came from outside the car. "Just hurry before she starts calling people." Dad said, "The title is in the safe." Darren said, "Ray said he can work with that." Mom asked, "What about her signature?" For 2 seconds, no one spoke. Then Darren said the words that turned my stolen car into a criminal case. "Forge it. She'll never have the guts to report us." I sat there in the dark kitchen, listening to my brother laugh inside the car I had bought with 6 years of overtime and sacrifice. Then I downloaded every file. I backed them up twice. I emailed them to Officer Ruiz. And after that, I finally answered one text. Darren had written, "You better fix this before morning." I typed back, "I already did." Then I attached the video clip and hit send. Darren saw the video at 11:38 p.m. I know because my phone showed read under the message, and for the first time that night, he stopped texting. For 7 whole minutes, there was silence. Then Mom called, I let it ring. Dad called, I let it ring. Then Aunt Paula called, and when I didn't answer, she sent a text so long it came through in 3 separate bubbles. "Your mother's hysterical. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. I know Darren made a mistake, but calling the police is cruel. You can replace a vehicle. You cannot replace your family." I read that sentence twice. You cannot replace your family. They always said that when someone else had done damage and I was expected to absorb it. No one said it when Darren stole from me. No one said it when Lily stood in a cold parking lot asking why our car was gone. Family only became sacred after I stopped letting them use the word as a crowbar. At 12:06 a.m., Mom left a voicemail. Her voice was broken, breathless, wet with tears. "Megan, sweetheart, please. Your brother didn't mean it like that. He was scared. Your father was scared. We all were. You know Darren has been under pressure. If this goes on his record, he will never recover." I sat at the kitchen table with the lights off, listening to my mother beg me to protect the man who had laughed while stealing the safest thing my daughter owned. Then she said the sentence that finally made something inside me go still. "Lily doesn't need to know about this." I deleted the voicemail from my phone. Then I restored it from the deleted folder and saved it to my evidence drive. That was the kind of week it became. The next morning, I took Lily to school in an Uber. She was quiet in the back seat, her backpack on her lap, her eyes moving from one unfamiliar street to another. When we pulled up to the drop-off line, she didn't get out right away. "Are Grandma and Grandpa mad at us?" she asked. "At me," I said carefully, "not at you." "But they took our car." I swallowed. "Yes." "Because Uncle Darren needed money?" "Yes." She looked down at her shoes. "Needing something doesn't make it yours, right?" My chest hurt so sharply I had to look out the window. "Right," I said. "Exactly right." After I dropped her off, I went straight to work. Janet Cole, my supervisor, was waiting outside my office with 2 coffees and the face she wore when a fraud file had just turned personal. "I got your email," she said. "I'm not asking the company to get involved." "You're not. I am asking you not to handle this like a daughter. Handle it like an investigator." So I did. By 9:30, I had printed the purchase agreement, registration, insurance policy, payment history, title copy, GPS logs, dashcam files, and screenshots of every text my family had sent. By 10:15, Officer Ruiz called. "Madsen Auto Exchange claims they bought the vehicle legally," she said. "They provided a signed title and a DMV power of attorney." My fingers tightened around the phone. "I never signed a power of attorney." "I figured you'd say that," Ruiz replied. "There's something else." I already knew from her voice that it was bad. "The form includes your social security number." For a moment, my office disappeared. Not because I was surprised my family had crossed another line, because I suddenly understood there had never been a line for them. There had only been what they needed and what they thought I would tolerate. "Who submitted it?" I asked. "Your father." I closed my eyes. My father, who had taught me to change a tire at 16. My father, who had kept my title in his safe because he said, "You can trust me, Meg." My father, who had now taken the most private number attached to my name and handed it to a used car dealer like a spare key. At noon, Mom showed up at my office. The receptionist called me in a whisper. "There's a woman crying in the lobby. She says she's your mother." Of course she did. I found her standing near the front desk, clutching a white envelope and performing heartbreak for everyone within hearing distance. "My daughter is trying to send her own father to jail," she said. I opened the conference room door. "Inside," I said. She followed me in, trembling. The second the door closed, she slid the envelope across the table. $5,000 in cash. "Take it," she whispered. "Tell the police it was a misunderstanding." I looked at the money. "Is this from my car?" She started crying harder. "Megan, please." I pushed the envelope back. "No, Mom," I said. "You don't get to buy my silence with money you stole from me." Her face twisted. "You are destroying this family." I stood. "No," I said. "I'm documenting what this family already destroyed." That afternoon, Officer Ruiz called again. They had found my Highlander at a transport lot outside the city. It was scheduled to be moved to Kentucky before sunrise, and in the glove compartment beside the fake paperwork, they found a handwritten note from Darren. "Megan won't press charges. Family issue." I stared at the photo Ruiz sent me until the words blurred. Family issue. That was what they called theft when the victim was me. The police station smelled like burnt coffee, floor cleaner, and old paper. I had been inside places like that before for work, but always as an investigator assisting a claim. Never as the woman whose own father had signed her name to a document. Never as the mother whose daughter had asked if family could take things if they needed them more. Elaine Porter, the attorney Janet recommended, sat beside me in a navy blazer with one legal pad, 2 pens, and the calm expression of a woman who had made grown men regret lying under fluorescent lights. "Let them talk first," she told me. "I'm good at that," I said. She looked at me. "No, Megan. You're good at surviving people talking over you. Today is different." Officer Ruiz brought us into a small interview room with a rectangular table and 4 chairs. My parents were already there. Mom looked smaller than she had in my office. Her hair was pinned badly, like she had done it with shaking hands. Dad sat stiffly beside her, jaw locked, work boots planted on the tile floor as if the right posture could make him innocent. Darren came in last. He wore sunglasses on top of his head despite the fact that it was raining outside. He looked at me, then at Elaine, then at the folder in front of Officer Ruiz. "This is insane," he said before sitting down. "We're really doing this?" Officer Ruiz opened the folder. "Yes," she said, "we are." No one spoke after that. Ruiz placed a copy of my title on the table. "Miss Whitaker," she said, "did you authorize the sale of your 2021 Toyota Highlander to Madsen Auto Exchange?" "No." "Did you sign this title transfer?" "No." "Did you sign this DMV power of attorney?" "No." "Did you give your father permission to use your social security number?" My mother made a sound soft and wounded, like the question itself was cruel. I didn't look at her. "No." Officer Ruiz turned to Dad. "Mr. Whitaker, did you present these documents to Ray Madsen?" Dad cleared his throat. "My daughter left the title in my safe." Elaine leaned forward. "That was not the question." Dad's face reddened. "I was trying to save my son." Darren shifted in his chair. "Dad, don't say it like that." Officer Ruiz looked at him. "Like what?" Darren held up both hands. "I didn't forge anything. I didn't touch the paperwork. He handled all that." For the first time in my entire life, I watched my father's face change when he looked at Darren. Not with pride, not with protection, with recognition. "You told me Ray would ask fewer questions if it came from me," Dad said. Darren's mouth tightened. "I said Ray trusted you. That's different." Mom started crying. "Please stop," she whispered. "All of you, please stop." But no one stopped. Officer Ruiz pressed a button on her laptop. The dashcam video began playing. My father's face filled the screen, leaning into my car in the school parking lot. Darren climbed into the passenger seat. His voice came through the small speaker, clear as glass. "Come on, she'll be out soon." Then the driveway clip, Mom's voice outside the car. What about her signature? And Darren's answer. Forge it. She'll never have the guts to report us. Nobody moved, not even Darren. Ruiz stopped the video. The silence afterward felt heavier than shouting. Elaine slid a printed screenshot across the table. It was Darren's text. You'll regret this. Then another. Fix this before morning. Then the note found in my glove compartment. Megan won't press charges. Family issue. Officer Ruiz looked at Darren. Mr. Whitaker, this is no longer being treated as a misunderstanding. Darren laughed once, but it came out wrong. You're really going to ruin my life over a Toyota? I had heard that sentence in different forms my whole life. Over money, over respect, over boundaries, over things that only became small after Darren took them. I looked at him. No, I said, you ruined your life over $27,000 you were too proud to admit you owed. His face twisted. You always wanted to be better than us. I shook my head. No, Darren, I just wanted you to stop taking things from me and calling it love. Mom covered her mouth. Dad stared at the table. Officer Ruiz closed the folder. Mr. Whitaker, she said to Darren, stand up. Darren blinked. What? Stand up. Two officers entered the room. Mom screamed his name when they turned him around. Dad rose halfway from his chair, then sat back down like his knees had failed him. The sound of the handcuffs was small, one clean metallic click. But in that room, it sounded like the first honest sentence my family had spoken in years. Darren looked back at me as they led him toward the door. You did this, he said. I stood beside my attorney, my hands steady. No, I said. I reported it. Darren spent 6 hours in a holding cell before Mom and Dad found someone willing to post his bond. I know because Aunt Paula called to tell me. Not to ask how Lily was doing. Not to ask if I had gotten my car back. Not to ask whether I was sleeping, eating, breathing after watching my family split itself open under fluorescent lights. She called to say, I hope you're satisfied. I was standing in the parking lot of the impound yard when she said it, looking at my Highlander through a chain-link fence. The car was dirty. There was a scratch along the rear passenger door that hadn't been there before. Someone had smoked inside it. Lily's booster seat was missing. The little Mom's taxi keychain was gone from the cup holder. But it was there, mine. I said, no, Aunt Paula. I'm not satisfied. I'm just done being stolen from. Then I hung up. Officer Ruiz met me at the gate with a clipboard. They tried to move it to Kentucky before sunrise, she said. If we'd been 2 hours later, it would have been much harder to recover. I looked at the car and thought of Darren's voice. By the time anyone cares, that car will be across state lines. He had been wrong about the police, but he had been right about one thing. For a long time, nobody in my family had cared when something was taken from me. Not my time, not my money, not my peace, not the little pieces of myself I gave away just to keep Sunday dinners quiet. This time, someone cared because I made it official. 3 weeks later, I got the Highlander back after the evidence hold was released. I had the interior detailed, replaced the locks, reset the digital system, canceled the old title, and opened a safety deposit box at a bank where no one in my family knew the branch manager. Lily ran her hand across the back seat like she was greeting an old friend. She came back, she whispered. I smiled. Yeah, I said. She came back. The criminal case didn't end with some dramatic courtroom confession. Real life rarely gives you that. Darren took a plea deal, probation, restitution, a suspended sentence that would become very real if he violated the terms. Ray Madsen's dealership got investigated for title fraud. My father avoided jail by cooperating, but he had to sign a sworn statement admitting he used my information without consent. Mom sent me a 6-page email 2 days before Thanksgiving. The first paragraph said she was sorry. The second paragraph said Darren was struggling. The third paragraph said she wished I had handled things privately. That was where I stopped reading. I replied with one sentence. You made it public when you sold what wasn't yours. Dad came by my apartment in December. He looked older than I remembered, smaller somehow. He stood outside my door with his hands in his coat pockets and said, I thought I was saving him. I didn't invite him in. You were teaching him he never had to save himself, I said. His eyes filled, but he didn't argue. That was new. I'm sorry, Meg. I believed him. And that was the hardest part. Because believing someone is sorry does not mean handing them the keys to your life again. I believe you, I said, but I don't trust you. He nodded like the sentence hurt because it was fair. That Christmas, Lily and I drove to a cabin near Hocking Hills. Just us. No family dinner, no guilt, no Darren making jokes at my expense, no mom watching my face to see how much pressure it would take before I folded. On the way there, Lily sat in the back seat, coloring a picture of our car with a purple crayon. "Mom," she said, "if someone says they need something, they still have to ask, right?" I looked at her in the rearview mirror. "Yes, baby. And if you say no, they can't just take it?" "No," I said, "they can't." She nodded, satisfied, and went back to coloring. That was when I finally understood what I had really gotten back. Not just a car, not just a title, not just $31,000 worth of stolen property. I had gotten back the word no. Darren had asked if I was really going to ruin my family over a Toyota. I didn't ruin my family. I reported a stolen car. They were the ones who proved the theft had started long before anyone touched the keys.